This is Dancing Rabbit, and welcome to another Weekend Pagan Perspective. This week's question comes from adorable sister 8884, and she says, I dance for relaxation, and I seem to meditate while dancing or go into a trance, whichever you prefer. While meditating or being in that trance-like state, I have a tendency to see myself as someone else, and my life is changed, different. Would you consider that seeing your past life, or would it be lucid dreaming? Well, you'd figure from my name, Dancing Rabbit, that I enjoy dancing, or that I dance a lot, and that would be true. I enjoy social dancing, whether it's ballroom dancing, or trance dancing, or various forms of folk dancing, square dancing, and that sort of thing. I've never learned to do any country line dancing. But I enjoy social dancing. Personally, I don't find any shift of consciousness during social dancing. I'm focused on my partner, usually Feather, or the music, or the dance steps that we're doing. And so that's not when I slip into ritual consciousness. I do like to participate in several other forms of religious or spiritual dance. For example, the spiral dance. And I have a link to a couple of videos below where you see people doing spiral dance. The thing that I like about it is it's incredibly simple. You're basically walking around in a circle holding hands with the people next to you. So it's a little bit like Ring Around the Rosie, except that you don't fall down, or at least hopefully you don't fall down. It's not a fall down on purpose thing. And as the circle begins to move around, the leader drops one of the hands, usually the left hand, and begins to pull the circle inward, tighter. And somewhere near the end, near the center of the circle, the leader reverses and begins to spiral back out in between the lines that are spiraling in. So it's a little bit like the playground game of Pop the Whip, except hopefully it's done slow enough that the people on the end don't get, slung off somewhere. The thing that's cool about it is that it's possible to do this with your eyes closed, because you're holding the people next to you and they're guiding you around. It's possible to do it with your eyes open, and as you pass the lines of people which are moving in opposite directions, it has a very hypnotic sort of effect. I also enjoy some of the folk dance-based dances for universal peace, and I've also put a link to one of those in the underbar. These are very simple. They are things that once you learn the, maybe half dozen or so steps, that you're able to just do. I haven't gone to a Native American powwow in, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 years, but the open part of it where non-Native Americans are allowed to participate, it's a similar sort of experience. A large group of people who are dancing together to the same drum beat, and it can be a very hypnotic sort of feeling, and it's what Starhawk calls a shift in consciousness, a shift into ritual consciousness from our normal waking, going around, being logically minded consciousness. And I think that this is what you're talking about. There is another form of spiritual dance which locally here in Houston is called ecstatic dance. I participated in a couple of times, and it really didn't do a thing for me. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. If it works for you, great. But it was very new agey, and everybody in the room was basically doing their own thing to this sort of new agey music, and I was spending most of my time looking at everybody else and trying to figure out what they were doing, and instead of focusing on what I was doing and shifting consciousness. So I didn't enjoy it. It didn't work for me. But I'm assuming that you're talking about some form of spiritual dance, whether it's powwow or something like the spiral dance or dancing the maypole. In my opinion, this is one of the several ways that you can produce a change in your consciousness so that you're no longer focused on the talking self, but you're focused on what Starhawk calls the younger self. And you're experiencing the world around you, if you have your eyes open, directly through your senses without putting names on things, without analyzing things. And perhaps this inner conversation, the chattering, what the Buddhists call monkey mind that's going on in your head, normally begins to quiet. Okay, so when this happens with you, you feel like that you're someone else, you see yourself as someone else. Is this lucid dreaming? I wouldn't call it lucid dreaming. What I would call lucid dreaming is when you are actually asleep and you're dreaming. You're having REM sleep and you are aware that you are dreaming, and you can change the dream. You can decide, well, I'm going over here, or this is interesting, I'm going to investigate this. You're actually aware and you're more or less in control of the dream. I wouldn't use the term lucid dreaming for something that happens while you're you're basically awake, you're standing up, you're dancing, you're moving around. Past life regression. There are a number of ways of doing past life regression. The only way that I've been successful at it was quite different from that. It was done with eyes closed, sitting comfortably, and a person asking me questions in a very rapid-fire fashion, and me giving basically the first thing that came out of my mouth without really thinking about it. I'll try to post a link if the website is still up about how to do that sort of past life regression. I found it to be very vivid and very emotionally moving, but I have no idea whether I was just imagining something or whether this was an actual real past life. So my guess, and it's just a guess about what's going on, is really that it's neither. That what you're experiencing is simply a shift in consciousness, but regardless of what it is, whether it's lucid dreaming of some kind, or shift in consciousness only, or past life regression into something that is a real past life, I don't think that it really matters. What matters, what's important, is what you do with it. What use can you make of this? So I would encourage you, the next time that you're dancing in whatever fashion it is that you dance, and this happens, to pay attention to what you can actually do with it. And when you come back from that altered state into normal everyday consciousness, how can you use that experience that you had? And perhaps the only use that you can make of it is that it was relaxing, it was calming, it made you feel better, or that it was interesting. So, don't know that I've helped you. I did spend quite a lot of time talking about my experiences with dance rather than directly answering your question. I think my quick answer would be, I don't know, it doesn't matter, what use is it? Find some uses for it, and I'm sure that there will be some uses that you can put this to. So, next week, Feather and I will be doing the 20 questions, 25 questions, the whole bunch of questions, and the 2 weeks following that will be both sub-weeks. So, till next week, when Feather and I will be here, this is Dancing Rabbit, wishing you much, much peace.